Hi, my name is Ben Dotson, and this is my Things Fall Apart research project. The theme that I chose was misinterpretation of power and masculinity can change, or it can distance oneself from reality and truth and unity. So I put the definition of power and I put the definition of masculinity. This theme is shown throughout Things Fall Apart and in our world today. The real world event that I chose was the Holocaust / German nationalism. A little background on this event was post-World War I, Germany was completely left in rubble, their economy was awful, and people were dying on the streets from starvation. This depression caused Germany to be desperate for someone to lead, and this person later became Adolf Hitler, who gave them self-esteem by telling them that they were the chosen race, and that everyone else was lesser, and all their opponents were lesser. And he used specifically Jewish people as a scapegoat, and conducted one of the largest mass killings of all time, known as the Holocaust. The persecution of the Jews started slowly with the Nuremberg laws, which makes them second-class citizens. The next concentration camps started popping up, and slowly more Jews were being killed in these concentration camps. And by the end of the war, over 6 million innocent Jews were put to death. Hitler's misinterpretation of power and masculinity caused him to do the things that he did. Ever since Hitler was a child, he was interested in Germans' nationalism, and later on, he figured out ways to manipulate it. Germans' nationalism during this time also ties into this theme. The people misinterpreted their power into thinking they were better than everyone else. In an interview with a German citizen during this time, said that we thought we were the chosen people, we thought we were invincible. The German people were so convinced that they were the chosen people that after the war, and when the Nazis lost, they were so shook that mass suicide flooded Germany. And because a lot of people would rather kill themselves than live in defeat. And then my chosen theme for Things Fall Apart was, first one was the society's culture is extremely competitive, and this society's culture is extremely competitive in their, which shows their misinterpretation, or their interpretation of masculinity. And my second one was all about Okonkwo, who has very similar traits to Hitler. He's a very brutal and masculine person who thinks kindness and gentleness is weakness. And there's a quote showing that. Many of the things that Okonkwo does in the book shows off his masculinity and his, misinterpretation. One specifically was how he treated his son. His son, Nwoye, is captivated by the missionaries, and he starts showing kindness and being nicer, and Okonkwo sees this, and he becomes furious. Okonkwo then pins his son to the ground by the throat and threatens him, which makes Nwoye leave and join the missionaries. Okonkwo sits by a fire and reflects this experience and learns nothing from it, and he thinks that he says something, he remembers that people used to call him the roaring flame, and he thinks that his son is impotent ash, and that this shows that Okonkwo's wrong interpretation of masculinity and power has completely corrupted his mind, leading him to do terrible things and not feel bad. The effects of misinterpretation of masculinity and power in both the real world event and in the book both caused heartbreak, death, and suffering for both sides. And this misinterpretation caused unity to be lost, along with the reality and the truth that people should be treated as people and nothing else. The sad thing is that this misinterpretation of masculinity and power is still highly prevalent today. Just keep going if it goes over time. My takeaway. So I want to start with this. Rape, murder, and war all have the same things in common: masculinity and power. So if masculinity and power, and the want for power, is creating destruction, why don't men become less masculine? It seems like it would make sense. But actually, this thinking is not only wrong, but is extremely dangerous. When you take away masculinity in men, it doesn't make them less evil. It only creates more destruction. Why? Because bad men don't become good when they stop being men. They become good when they stop being bad. Instead of demonizing masculinity and power, we should embrace it. This is because the same masculinity that creates destruction and war also defeats tyranny. The same traits that foster greed also builds economies. The same traits in men that do foolish things also are also the same men that do heroic things like fight for their country and save people in fires. The solution is not getting rid of masculinity, but direct it in a positive light. When men embrace their masculinity in a way that is healthy, they become leaders and warriors. When men hide their masculinity, they run from their responsibilities. This is extremely prevalent in our world because the statistic that 1 in 4 children grow up without a father is a very real thing. And I have a quote proving that. And then this is very dangerous, as a man is extremely important to be in the house for a child. And I have a quote from Barack Obama of him saying, of all the rocks upon which we build our lives, family is the most important. We are called to recognize and honor how critical every father is to that foundation. So how can we do this? How can we ensure the masculinity is used in the right light? First, we should start by stopping the avoidance of competition and winning in our schools, because it confuses boys and girls by telling them that competition is wrong. This is completely not right. This creates men and women who are passive and won't fight back against evil. So in conclusion, masculinity and power should be embraced in a productive and healthy way. And back to what I was saying before, rape, murder, and war. They all have 2 things in common, actually. One being that bad men who do the raping and murdering and warring, and the other one being weak men that won't stop them. We need good men who will. It's not masculinity that's toxic, it's the lack of it.